Yeah, it is the AEW New Japan Forbidden Door post show on the Ringside Report Network. Let's do it. Start.
Love that.
Yeah, I love that song.
Feel it.
It's a great, yeah. Feels like Jazz and Hands did that song. What's up, everybody? It's the AEW Forbidden Door post show. We just watched AEW's Forbidden Door 2 pay-per-view, and it was pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it was not bad. I enjoyed it. I thought we had some good wrestling matches. We had some amazing wrestling matches. I want to know what you all think. What did you give this pay-per-view overall? On 10, let's do it. This is what we do after every WWE and AEW pay-per-view here on the Ringside Report Network. We break it all down. We give you our scores on 10. We talk about all the matches, and we give you our match of the night. And we hear from you, the Ringside Report universe. Shout out to Ray Cruz. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Ray, member of the team over at join.ringsidereport.net. We are a viewer-supported network, and we appreciate all the support we get from our fantastic viewers. Shouting out the Simon Brothers in full effect here tonight. That's right, pal. That's right. We are here. Johnny is off tonight. Johnny had to do some other stuff. It is the Simon Brothers in full effect on AEW Forbidden Door weekend. Oops. I'm not so good at that.
We're counterfeit Bucks.
We do not do that a lot. Toronto had a lot of love for the Young Bucks tonight.
Oh, yes.
A lot of love for the Young Bucks.
Nothing but love for the Young Bucks.
But the Toronto fans, not big fans of CM Punk. They did not seem to show him a lot of love. A lot of boos coming Phil Brooks' way. And it makes me wonder if this is how it's going to be, or it was just Toronto. Because it wasn't just tonight. They were in Toronto last night for Collision. He took a lot of boos last night. Of course, they were in Chicago last week when Punk returned to AEW. He got a lot of love from his hometown, but that's his hometown. First step outside of Chicago for Punk didn't go so well as far as the fan reactions. AEW is booking him as a babyface, and he got booed pretty hard tonight. And the Bucks did not. I was a little surprised. I thought they might boo the Bucks too. I thought they might be like, you know what, Punk, Bucks, all that stuff, we're tired of you guys and all the nonsense. But no, they were cheering the Bucks, very much in favor of the Bucks and Hangman when they made their entrance, and a lot of boos for CM Punk, which was a surprise this weekend. I didn't expect the fans to be so anti-Punk. I thought last night might have been an anomaly, but tonight we found out it was not. Toronto, not big fans of Mr. Punk.
No, and you are right. This is a good sign to see, like, in the future, like, other markets, are they going to be hostile? Because Toronto, traditionally, is seen as a bit of, like, a smarter wrestling crowd. You know, they're part of the Bizarro World group that, WWE always like to call, where they'll cheer the heels, boo the faces, be a little bit more aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
So if they've clearly taken a side here,
right,
will we see markets like New York, L.A., I'm trying to think of Montreal, hopefully, eventually.
London.
Yeah, they're going big in London.
Yeah.
London could be very hostile to CM Punk. They could have some very nasty chants coming his way.
I'm a little bit surprised. I am a fan of all of them. I think they're all fantastic. I thought the Bucks did well tonight. I thought Punk did well tonight. I thought Kenny did tremendous tonight. Kenny was really the star of the show, him and Will Ospreay. But I was surprised that the fans were so anti-Punk. I would not be booing CM Punk. I would be cheering for Punk, as I would be for the Bucks and Hangman when they came out. A little bit surprised, but it will be something to monitor over the next few weeks. But they're staying in Canada, which makes me wonder, like, is it just Canada Is it Toronto?
Is it?
I don't know, because they're in Hamilton next week for Collision, and Hamilton is pretty close to Toronto. I can't imagine there'll be pro Punk there, and Punk is mostly on Collision, and they're doing Regina the following week and then Calgary the week after. I wonder what kind of reactions Punk will get in Regina. I don't think it'll be as negative.
No, I don't think so. But you never know if if his character develops in a certain direction until then. Because I think Punk should be working as a heel. I feel Punk feels like a heel since he's come back. I was talking to you about how he was talking about David Zaslav.
Yeah.
And it's from how he's like making him money and like David Zaslav sees money. David Zaslav's like the biggest heel in Hollywood right now.
Yeah.
During the writer's strike.
People don't
David
like him.
Zaslav's out there. He got booed at a graduation speech he made.
Really?
Yeah.
So why is Punk name dropping him? Is he not aware that he's looked at as a bad? Because when he name dropped him, I said, "Who's that exactly?" I've heard that name, but I'm not too familiar with him.
Because he is the head of Warner Brothers Discovery, which is the parent company of AEW. So Punk is making that claim. But he's also he's the guy, who's cutting all this, like HBO, which was always seen as the top prestige, like the most valuable brand name in entertainment.
Yes.
He's reduced that to just cheap knockoffs and it's not even HBO Max anymore because he thought who cares about HBO?
Yes.
And HBO shows are getting sold off to other networks.
And he's behind all of this because I know about a lot of this stuff.
He's known as a huge cost cutter.
Wow.
That's his MO. That's what he's brought in to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
and CM Punk is talking about being friends with him as a brag in a promo, which is weird.
It sounds like a Ted DiBiase promo from the 80s going I talked to Lee Iacocca and Donald Trump the other day and they said, "Ted, you better beat Hulk Hogan." It felt like that, when they would, those kind of rich guy wrestlers or heel wrestlers would bring up other big names in society to like Jesse Ventura would be like, "I hung out with all the Hollywood stars and they think Rodney Savage is a loser."
It's not like man of the people stuff for CM Punk.
No, it's an elitist, so to speak.
And he also kind of called out the fans in that promo a couple weeks ago, saying you're as soft as the wrestlers you like. So really drawing a line where any Young Bucks fan is looked at as soft by CM Punk. When the Bucks haven't really drawn that line publicly, they haven't said anything about Punk really in any kind of promo, certainly not to the extent that Punk has. So, maybe that is contributing to it, but maybe I think it'll work. But clearly it wasn't something anticipated by AEW because you look at how he's positioned so far, and he's with a babyface FTR team, and he's wrestling tonight against Kojima, which is, whatever. It's a New Japan AEW match, but I feel like AEW was expecting Punk to be cheered in this one, or maybe after last night, probably not. But, last night he's wrestling a bunch of heels. He's making saves for babyfaces on Dynamite. He's being booked as a babyface, but that might have to change pretty quick.
Yeah, they might have to do a quick 180.
Then again, they do so many goddamn shows in Chicago, they could probably get away with Punk being a babyface.
Yeah, that long promo.
Heel everywhere else, babyface in Chicago. And, they do basically half their shows in Chicago nowadays, so why not? Most of their pay-per-views are in Chicago. Most of their big TVs in Chicago. They just announced All Out is going to be in Chicago, and then they're doing, Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, All Out, a whole week in Chicago at the end of August, I want to say.
And, they acted in that promo like they'd never been to Chicago before. Hey, Chicago, we're coming. Shit.
Weren't you just in Chicago 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
they did that promo.
On.
Yeah, they're like, "Hey, Chicago, we're back in Chicago finally." And finally? What do you mean? You were just there.
I would like to know if residents of Chicago, wrestling fans of Chicago, are roll their eyes now when AEW comes to town. Okay, fine, I get to see another Britt Baker match again. Okay, the novelty's got to be lost, right?
They sell tickets. They keep going there for a reason, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're
piggy bank.
Yeah. It works in that market. It's working for them. And Punk is a babyface there, but he may have to turn heel at some point. Jason Pete says, I think people are over Punk. I think that's a real possibility. And Ray Cruz says, no show in Montreal. That's unfortunate. I think at some point they'll do a show in Montreal. I don't know when, but they're doing many shows across Canada, and Montreal still has not been hit as a destination. They also haven't hit Vancouver. So you could, this was their second or third show, I guess, in Toronto. Or fourth, I guess. They did a Dynamite and then a Rampage taping another night. And then they did Collision last night and now Forbidden Door. So this is technically AEW's fourth show in Toronto. They haven't done a show in Montreal yet. But again, like Vancouver's a big city in Canada. They haven't gone there. They've done Winnipeg. And they're about to do a bunch of other cities in Canada. Hamilton, like I said.
Which is essentially Toronto.
For Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision next week, all in Hamilton. They're doing 3 shows, which is essentially. But 3 shows in Hamilton next week. The following week, they're hitting Edmonton for Dynamite and Rampage, and Collision in Regina, Saskatchewan, which, those folks don't get a lot of TV pro wrestling, right? It's not like WWE's doing SmackDowns in Regina once a year. It's not really happening, so... good for them getting a Collision
they're
taping.
lucky to get a house show.
Yeah, it's cool. They get a TV show out in Regina. Our buddy Patrick Hamilton is out in Regina, so it's cool. I know there's fans out there. Saskatoon is getting Dynamite in July, and then they're doing Collision in Calgary. So they've got, a lot of cities in Canada that they're going to hit up, and hopefully Montreal is on the next time around.
I can see it being like, hey, we're heading to Eastern Canada. That means Toronto, Ottawa, Halifax.
Yeah, right?
Charlottetown, PEI.
Quebec City.
Quebec City. That's all.
Yeah.
It's like, wait.
What about Montreal? What?
Huh?
Oh, we forgot about that. Does that city exist, One day they'll be here.
Makes me wonder if,
it's a matter of time.
Like with Eventco or something, like WWE just kind of got like a bit of a thing, like, hey.
That's possible.
It's not like written down or anything, but like it's understood. Like, hey, like you're preferential to us.
There are exclusivity contracts, and there are also, exclusivity contracts exist, and those are real, and that's fine. And if you have an exclusivity contract with, say, Eventco in Montreal, and you're the WWE, well, AEW is kind of limited on what buildings they could run.
Yeah, because they couldn't even get Place Bell.
No. So if you can't do Place Bell and you can't do the Bell Center, what venue would you run if you're AEW?
Yeah, like
the Verdun Auditorium? You know what I mean? Like, what do you do?
The Olympic Stadium?
I don't think you do the Olympic. I don't think you could sell the Olympic Stadium.
Unless it's like
too
a
big.
Big card.
It's too big. So they'd have to come with something massive for Olympic Stadium, which is not going to happen.
They don't have any local Quebec wrestlers. It's not like, they can get Kevin Steen.
What I'm saying is if they can't get the Bell Center or Place Bell because those venues are booked exclusively by WWE, and even if it's not like exclusive, there's also like a non-compete type of thing where if they come, you can't do another wrestling show in that building for like 3 months or whatever afterwards. That happens all the time for all sorts of different live events. And WWE comes to Montreal often enough that they might...
And Eventco definitely wants to keep that relationship healthy.
So the window for AEW to show up might be so small that they're just not able to fit it in. There are a lot of factors at play. But... you would think they'd be able to get something done.
Yeah.
You would think. Okay, on 10, what are we giving this pay-per-view? I'm seeing a couple different scores so far in the chat. I want to know from you, everybody watching, let me know in the chat over on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Kick. We're on all the things. He's kicking. What are you giving this AEW Forbidden Door 2? The second Forbidden Door on 10. Alex Tarris in the chat didn't like it. 2.5 out of 10.
Ouch.
Goodness. Ray Cruz, I think, gave it... Anthony Plessia giving it 8.5 on 10. Right. Worst match was a Jericho match. I don't know if that was the worst match.
The worst match?
I thought it was kind of fun. I like seeing the Stinger bump around like that. I thought it was...
Suzuki?
Jimmy James... Of course, the great boss from News Radio, giving it a 5.
Stephen Root?
Yeah, I think that's him.
Oh, my goodness.
Bill Dautrieve.
Actually, I met someone at a bar a couple weeks ago whose name was Jimmy James.
Okay. Was it the guy from News Radio?
No, he was pretty skinny.
Cool. He gave it a 5. What are you giving this show overall on 10?
That's a good question. I feel like I had a really strong. I remember I loved the first Forbidden. I feel like I gave the first Forbidden Door like a 9 or something because I was just like,
it was good.
It was insane. This one was pretty damn good. No real slow points. I missed a match. I missed something in the middle.
Sonata.
I missed Sonata
and
and Jungle Boy. Yeah, so I missed all that.
Yeah, because you were being a very good uncle and letting me watch the pay-per-view and putting your nephew to bed, which was very much appreciated.
It was my pleasure.
Such a good uncle, this guy.
Pleasure. He's a sweet guy.
Such a good guy.
So I missed the Sonata match, but, it was only 10 minutes. I had a really good time. I would say, let's say 7.5.
Solid. I'll give it an 8.
Oh, yeah.
Because Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega was a generation-defining match. It was a masterpiece.
Yeah, a real Chris Masters.
And I thought everything on the show was solid. Let's give you a quick rundown of what we saw here tonight at AEW's Forbidden Door in case you missed it. We opened the show with Maxwell Jacob Friedman defending his AEW World Championship, beating Hiroshi Tanahashi with help from his Dynamite Diamond Ring behind the ref's back. Little cheating from old MJFski. CM Punk defeating Satoshi Kojima amid a chorus of boos to advance in the Owen Hart Cup tournament. Orange Cassidy defended his AEW Intercontinental Championship. Oh, sorry, International Championship.
Yeah, not or Atlantic.
But used to be All Atlantic. Then they switched it to International. I think they wanted to call it Intercontinental, but they just weren't allowed. Anyways, Orange defended the belt against Zack Sabre Jr., Katsuyori Shibata, and Daniel Garcia. Sonata defends the IWGP World Heavyweight title over Jungle Jack Perry. The Elite, Hangman, and the Young Bucks, teaming with Eddie Kingston and Tomohiro Ishii, defeat Jon Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, Claudio Castagnoli, Konosuke Takeshita, and Shota Umino in a 10-man tag. Tony Storm over Willow Nightingale to retain the AEW Women's World title. Will Ospreay defeating Kenny Omega to become the new IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion. Sting, Darby Allin, and Tetsuya Naito defeat Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Minoru Suzuki. And Bryan Danielson in the main event, making Kazuchika Okada tap. So, yeah. I thought it was
t-shirt says.
Everybody taps sooner or later, brother. It's just a matter of time. I thought we had some excellent matches. I thought we had some matches that were pretty good. I thought the show kind of opened out a little bit slow. It was good, but it wasn't amazing. MJF and Tanahashi was okay. Punk and Kojima was okay. The four-way was okay. Sonata and Jungle Boy, I thought, elevated the playing field a little bit. That match was very good. Then the Elite against the Blackpool Combat Club match, it had its moments. It was all right. Tony Storm and Willow Nightingale was honestly forgettable. But then Will Ospreay against Kenny Omega was so good. Obviously going to be my match of the night by far. Far. Match of the night, maybe match of the year. I thought it was as good as their match at Wrestle Kingdom, which is saying a lot because that match was also possibly, match of the year back in January. This is, it was up there with that. And Kenny and Ospreay are just magic in the ring together. I thought this was as good, if not better, than their last match. It's amazing how good these guys are. And I thought that elevated the whole pay-per-view. I thought we had some stuff that was okay, but then that Kenny match, and then Bryan Danielson and Kazuchika Okada in the main event, I thought was fantastic. And I also enjoyed the six-man tag that was sandwiched between those two big main events, Sting, Darby, and Naito over Jericho, Sammy, and Minoru Suzuki. Sting was doing things he had no business doing. He took moves he had no business taking. The cutter off the top rope from Sammy Guevara that planted Sting's head on the mat, I thought killed Sting. Sting needed a couple minutes to recover there. It looked devastating. Sammy Guevara also did like a crazy flipping thing off the top rope onto Sting that was laying on a table outside the ring. Sting goes through the table, taking a devastating splash thing from Sammy Guevara. Like, Sting, he looked a little tired and slow, but the man is, 64, 63?
Yeah.
64. No,
64.
he's 64.
Jesus,
It's
bro.
ridiculous that he's able to actually do this and still be standing at the end of the match. There was a point where he was draped over the top
Oh, my
rope,
God.
just standing on the apron. It looked like he was going to throw up. Like, he looked like he wasn't selling. He was just really tired, which I assume he was because he did so much. He had to come back in the ring. At one point, he came back in the ring to stop Suzuki, but Suzuki was nowhere near doing the spot that he was supposed to do when Sting stopped him. So Sting just sat in a corner for a while, huffed and puffed, till Suzuki did a thing, and then Sting came and attacked Suzuki.
Shivani's like, oh, Sting!
Yeah, but we were just watching Sting the whole time because we're transfixed on what the hell was going on with this man, because he seemed like he might keel over at any moment. And then he gets in the ring, and we're like, why did he just wander in the ring? And then he just sits in the corner, and you're like, what's Sting doing there? And then Suzuki does some sort of cheating thing, and Sting attacks him. And you're like, oh, okay. Sting just came in really early because he needed a rest in the corner, I guess.
And, like, at one point, Sting, like, I think Jericho hit some move on, like, Darby, and, like, had, like a pinfall, like a near fall. And, like, Sting is in the ring, and, like, as the pinfall starts, Sting just, like, goes to, like, the ropes, the apron to go back to just not even try to break up the pin.
No, Sting
like, it was a
too
video
tired.
game, the computer was just, like, automatically going back. And you're like, no, what are you doing? Go.
Yeah. You could just throw a boot and save your partner, but instead you're tired and you need to hold on to the ropes to keep yourself upright.
Yeah, he could not let go.
But, like,
it was across the ring. It was too much effort.
I think we have to forgive that.
Of course.
Because he's 64
he
years
shouldn't
old.
be there.
The fact that he's even able to do everything he did tonight is incredible. The man is a warrior and an inspiration, and I'm impressed. I thought the match was a lot of fun. I liked it. Suzuki was great. When Suzuki was standing there with Sting and Jericho was begging to get tagged in, and Suzuki just looks at Jericho and goes, no! And then Jericho's like, tag me, and Suzuki just looks at him and goes, fuck off! It was fucking fantastic.
The Logan Roy level fuck off.
Oh, my God. Suzuki is just great. I love everything he does. I'm not the world's biggest Sting fan, but I thought he was great tonight. He was fun to watch. Jericho was great. I love Jericho.
Jericho's reactions on the apron had me in stitches.
Yeah.
There was, like, at one point, like,
Suzuki
when Darby hit Darby, and Jericho just had this look like, oh, and, like, a little smile, like, oh. Because Darby, like, they were doing, like, trending shots, and Darby's just was not hitting Suzuki as hard. Like, Suzuki was looking like smiling, and he's kind of going, like, you're a good kid. And then bam! And Darby, like, went down and, like stayed down for a second. He was like, oh.
Yeah.
It was great. That was a great match.
Yeah, when Suzuki was hitting Darby with those shots, I was loving it.
Yeah.
And you saw Jericho's reaction that one time was like, oh, I'm glad that's not me. He said so much in that face. It was so good.
That was a real reaction from...
I thought that was great. I thought that was great stuff. The first meeting of Jericho and Sting in the ring together, it was historic. It was very cool.
Is it?
Yeah.
They never...
Never.
Not in WCW?
Never.
No, because, like, Sting was always
big.
NWO and stuff, and Jericho was never near that.
Yeah, Sting never really wrestled back
and
then.
in AEW, I guess they hadn't crossed paths.
Never.
That is incredible.
Yep.
Yeah, because Jericho was always in WWE and Sting was always in TNA, so it just never...
Never.
Wow.
I know. That's why they have to do it now, because if they don't do it now, it'll never happen.
And I'd be like, and people are
and
like,
it
hey,
should
why
happen.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
That blew my mind. I didn't even realize. Yeah. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. That's why I was extra hyped for it, because it's like, wow, Sting, Jericho, they've been around forever. They're legends among legends.
It's always parallel.
And, I mean, Sting is a legend of legends, I mean, he's been around. He wrestled everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Like
he's
he'd have regular matches. Like when Sting would have regular matches with Ricky Steamboat, when Jericho had a match with Ricky Steamboat, it was like a novelty for Ricky Steamboat. They were contemporaries.
Yeah, that's
Steamboat.
it. Yeah, him and Steamboat, him and Flair, it's just...
Luger.
Yeah, normal day at the office. The guy wrestled Antonio Inoki.
Yeah.
Sting
Was that in North Korea?
Sting wrestled Inoki. I don't know. It might have been in Japan. Yeah. But, it happened. I think Flair wrestled Inoki in Korea.
Yeah, the collision in Korea.
But yeah,
Scott
Sting
Norton.
is a legend. Jericho's a legend. So I thought that match was really cool to see from a historic standpoint and just, entertainment wise. I thought it was great. Harold Schneider dropping a $5 super chat. Thank you, Harold, supporter of the Ringside Report Network. He's given the pay-per-view an 8 overall, which is what I gave it. But says too much blood in the Omega match, takes off 0.5. I don't know. I thought the blood added a lot to it. I thought that match was
makes you squeamish.
Incredible. I mean, some people don't like blood, and that's fine, but I thought it added to the drama of the match. Kenny was bleeding. Ospreay was bleeding. Lots of heavy strikes, lots of head drops. Don Callis accompanied Will Ospreay to the ring. At one point, he slipped the screwdriver to Will Ospreay when Ospreay was getting picked up for the one-winged angel. He jammed the screwdriver in Kenny's face, hit the hidden blade, hit the Stormbreaker,
yeah.
And I thought it was over. Everybody thought it was over. He covers Kenny, 1, 2, and Kenny just barely gets his foot on the ropes. One of the most perfect false finishes you will ever see because everybody thought it was over at that point. And believe me, it was nowhere near over at that point.
They went another like 15 minutes?
They did so much more after that, and you thought Kenny would win, and then Ospreay won in the end. But that false finish was so damn good, so perfectly executed. The camera angle was great. Everything
Ospreay's
worked.
reaction, like he's seen someone rise from the dead.
Callis's reaction, and Kenny, the way Kenny just half dead just gets a piece of his foot on the rope just at the right time was just magical.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that makes Kenny so great. He's got that sense of drama, and when he needs to pull it out, it's like, oh wow. It's a masterpiece.
It's like Oscar level acting.
Yes. He is a very high level professional wrestling artist, and you see that
He's like an Al Pacino.
in his craft. Yeah, it's little details, small things done with such perfect execution that makes you go, oh yeah. It's not like the suplexes, it's not the flips, it's not the strikes, and he does all that, and he's an amazing athlete. But it's just the way it's the timing and the way he gets his foot on the ropes for things like that make you go, and the way he placed the match and the way it all structured to the point where you think it's over, and then he does that, and the whole crowd goes, "Oh my god!" It's a master level performance from Kenny Omega,
and like how dead he looked.
Yeah,
it was made even more magic when Ospreay, to insult to injury, does a one-winged angel to Kenny, and Kenny kicks out at 1 because he's so enraged. Even through all the battered and destroyedness, he gets incensed.
He hulks
he starts
up,
slapping the ground, and he starts hulking up, which is like WrestleMania 18 when Hogan, starts hulking up and the crowd's getting on their feet, and like the Toronto crowd believed this is Kenny's to win.
Yeah,
it was that was amazing. Like it was like a couple spots later they did that.
Oh, it was like pretty quick after. Like Kenny kicks out. And then Ospreay like hits him a couple times, picks him up, hits the one-winged angel. You're like, oh man, Kenny's almost dead. He just got hit with his finish. And then Ospreay goes to cover him. Kenny kicks out, and he's like all mad. It was really good. And Ospreay was getting on the crowd. He had the Canadian flag at one point. He was blowing his nose in it,
Speaking
like Shawn Michaels
references,
like Shawn Michaels did with Bret Hart back in the day. Unbelievable. The Tiger Driver 91 that Will Ospreay hit on Kenny Omega, dropping him right on his head, crunching his neck. It's the type of thing where, I've seen a lot of wrestling. I've seen a lot of nasty falls and crazy bumps. But that type of stuff where Will Ospreay is just, boom, crunching you right in your head, I go, how? How is that possible?
Yeah.
How is he doing all this?
How's your neck just going like...
Is Kenny okay? Because that bump, I mean, he's not okay. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. There's things that you go, okay, well, there's a way to protect yourself. They showed a bunch of replays on that. You saw a bunch of camera angles. That's head and neck taking the impact. There's no way to protect yourself. It hurts. It's just to what degree does it hurt, and does it possibly injure you, and does it take years away from your career, and who knows? But a move like that is very dangerous, and Kenny Omega does stuff like that pretty often. When the situation calls for it, when he has these big matches, he steps up and does crazy dangerous things and puts his body through crazy stuff, and you wonder how. And you wonder how he keeps standing. But again, he's also had injuries and stuff.
Took a lot of that time off,
Sure.
When he took all that time off, and he was talking about how, the ring was always spinning for him and everything. You're kind of like, well, that's kind of where, those head injuries, all those bumps he took against Okada and everybody.
And now he's back, and he's taking the Tiger Driver 91 from Will Ospreay.
Is the ring still spinning for Kenny?
I hope he's okay. I just hope he's okay. I honestly hope he's okay because,
is that something you recover from?
He's like Kurt Angle in that way where I don't think he's got an off switch. Yeah. He could be hurting really bad backstage, but once the crowd goes and once he's in the ring, he's Kenny Omega, and Kenny Omega feels no pain.
Yeah.
And Kenny Omega's a wrestling machine.
He doesn't let his fans down.
And he's not letting anybody down, and he is there for pro wrestling, and he'll die for the cause. And Kurt Angle was like that. Like, he went 100%. He had no, first gear. He was all the way. He was going full throttle.
To the point where Vince McMahon, who never had a problem working his wrestlers to the bone to where they were, was like,
yeah,
you got to take some time off, pal.
You got to take it easy, pal.
You're scaring me. I'm concerned about you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if Steve Austin has a broken neck. I'm sending him out there. I don't care,
Kurt, we need to take care of you. Because no one would stop Kurt. And I wonder where Kenny's at there, because clearly, he's had a lot of injuries, but he goes out there and has matches like this that can't feel good to his body, but thankfully he doesn't do it as often as he used to. So hopefully he can take it, hopefully he can take it. But my God, what a classic match he put out there with Will Ospreay tonight. Ospreay was great. So much heat from the crowd. They were really hating Will Ospreay. Ospreay is one of the best wrestlers in the world today. I wish the North American audience could see more of him. I think it's great, all the stuff he does in New Japan, but I wish people that watch AEW and maybe even WWE could see Will Ospreay, because it's a huge audience, and I think they would really appreciate him, because he's so damn good.
Like, the way people talk about Seth Rollins, that's who Will Ospreay is.
Yeah.
When there's like, oh man, Seth Rollins could go out there and put a 5-star and like more talent in his pinky finger and everything. That's who Will Ospreay is.
Yeah.
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 Just
they had that back and forth.
Consistent.
They were having that back and forth at one point on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
They were kind of, and like Seth was saying he was better or something to Will Ospreay, and I was like,
you wish.
Yeah, you're not though.
You look at Will Ospreay and are like,
yeah, I don't think you put Seth Rollins in the ring with Kenny Omega tonight that he delivers anything near what Will Ospreay did.
No.
God,
no. It would just be like a standard Seth Rollins kind of match.
Yeah, but Seth also is a little older than Will, but Will's had some injuries. Will's, he's put his body through. We talk about all the things that Kenny takes. I mean, Will Ospreay takes some stuff too. It wasn't a easy road for Will Ospreay tonight. Some of those knees and kicks that Kenny threw. He hit one knee on Will Ospreay that looked like it took his head off. It was,
and then he hit him in the shoulder a couple times after. Like he clearly didn't try to hit him in the face.
Yeah,
after.
He's like, okay, I got your head pretty good there. A couple of the next ones will be in the shoulder because I don't want to kill you.
The announcer sold it like it was a headshot, but it was clear shoulder.
Yeah, but the first one.
Oh yeah, the first one, and like that.
Yeah, the sound it made. It was
and like Ospreay
oh, that's
his
like face. Yeah.
Kind of went like.
Oh.
Yeah, that was nasty.
So Kenny kicked out of the Tiger Driver 91 that looked like it killed him, but then Ospreay hit the hidden blade, Stormbreaker, pinned him, 1, 2, 3, middle of the ring. A little bit of help from Don Callis earlier, but Kenny escaped that, and eventually it was a clean-ish victory, clean enough for Will Ospreay to take back the IWGP US title, which is what we expected going into it. Figured Kenny, he's not working in New Japan. He's going to drop that New Japan belt to Will Ospreay after retaining it back in January. It was time to lose here, to give him the win back and give the belt back to New Japan, and it made a lot of sense. And I think the crowd understood and also appreciated what an incredible match that they just saw. What What a great match. Match of the night. Does anybody disagree?
How?
I mean, Harold Schneider thought it was too bloody. Does anybody think there was another match that was better? I would say that the Bryan Danielson Kazuchika Okada match was the second best match on the card, but I wouldn't say that it was the best. I thought like it was good.
It was solid.
But Ospreay and Kenny is really hard to follow.
Yeah, like Ospreay and Kenny went like a step above. Like Danielson and Okada gave a really good match of their repertoires.
Yeah.
But like there wasn't really anything we hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
But Omega and Ospreay gave like 15, 20 minutes of that match. With like it was 39, 40, it was almost 40 minutes.
It was
and like
just
half
under
of that.
Yeah, Kenny Ospreay was just under 40 minutes. And Danielson and Okada was 27 and a half minutes.
And I'd say the match, like, maybe start off a bit slow, the Kenny Ospreay match, like a bit. But once they started, like, banging each other's head, like, Ospreay was doing it to Kenny on the announce table. But then once Kenny started doing it to Ospreay on the steps, and Ospreay's head looked up and was just busted open.
Yeah.
And then Kenny did, like, a DDT on the steps, and that cut up his back, too, because his back was cut up from the... Then the match continued. And that was, like... 20 minutes in. So they gave us 20 minutes of just like awe-inspiring holy shit moments.
Yeah.
Like a cut above. Like
once they got
you can't
cooking,
compete with that. Like even if you are Danielson Okada, you can't really, unless you go really crazy.
I mean, it was a pretty good match. That Danielson took some stuff from Okada that looked pretty rough. The tombstone on the stage.
Yeah, that was good.
There were some things there, and Bryan at one point was convulsing. But,
I felt a bit acty.
I was a little bit worried. I was worried for a second when he was, like, shaking and the doctor came in right away. I was like, oh. But then the referee was checking on him, and then Okada told the doctor to leave. And I was like, well, if he's convulsing, the doctor isn't going to leave when Okada says so. And then Bryan was playing possum, and he was all right. The finish came when Bryan was going for the label lock. But then he turned it into like this double shoulder lock. He had him in the omoplata, and then he grabbed his other arm, and he stretched him out in a double shoulder lock. And Okada was just turned into a pretzel and had no choice but to tap out. The crowd was stunned at the finish because it didn't seem climactic.
No,
it didn't seem like it did just happen, and the match didn't seem to build to it. It wasn't even Bryan's finisher. It was shocking, but I think that works given how the match ended and just given the way that's how fights end sometimes. Like you get a guy, you work on him on he worked at that hold for a while with the label lock and switching and doing this and that, and then I don't know, getting a weird comment I didn't understand. But it's just something about Johnny. I don't know. I'll read it later. But, he worked at it, and that's how submission grappling works. Like, you go and you're fighting on the ground and you're struggling and it's a battle. And then you catch the guy and you trap him and he's trapped. And then when he's trapped, he taps. Because if he doesn't, he's going to get his shoulder ripped out. And that's what Bryan did. He just kind of worked at it, trapped him, got him trapped, and then Okada couldn't move, and so he tapped.
I thought natural.
Yeah, it felt real. It felt good. The whole match was nice and snug. It was a very solid wrestling match. It wasn't what I was expecting from Bryan and Okada, but I don't know. Like, it wasn't bad. I didn't think it was. I don't think it met expectations. I just don't think it exceeded expectations. It was very good. It was awesome, but it wasn't like, because sometimes you expect a match to be really good. Like Ospreay and Kenny, I expected it to be really good, but it was better than I thought it would be. And Okada and Bryan, I thought would be good. It didn't exceed my expectations. It met my expectations. So I was satisfied with it. I thought it was definitely the second best match on the show. But it was missing a little
something.
a little spice, a little something.
It felt just like, hey, I've got a great repertoire of moves. You've got a great repertoire of moves. Let's put them on each other so people could see what that's like. It's like it felt like more like a video game kind of match. Like because like there was also like there was nothing necessarily personal between them. Like sure Brian was kind of calling him out, but like
Yeah.
there wasn't like Osprey and Omega. They've had like a pretty intense kind of rivalry and
Yeah.
years in the making.
Yeah.
So it had that extra also that on top of being like an insane match.
It didn't have the intensity because there's no
It was an exhibition.
because there's no interpersonal relationship there.
Yeah.
Like you don't know really what Brian and Okada think about each other, feel about each other, how they even interact because you've never seen them speak to each other on TV. And I think there's a lot to make for just having guys talk to each other or talk about each other on TV. We had a little promo from Okada, a little promo from Danielson, but all they really said was you're the best in your place. Let's see. And that's all you needed because I'm down to see Brian wrestle Okada, but I think when it came down to the match, it was lacking a little bit that next gear, that intensity, because we really didn't know how they felt, and because we don't know how they felt, it's hard for them to know how they should feel and how to act and how to react to each other.
Especially as opposed to, say, like the MJF Tanahashi match, which had a lot clearer story, and you know exactly how MJF was feeling, thinking New Japan is a rinky-dinky fed, and Tanahashi's like, MJF's a coward, and I'm going to, like, that one, like, and they've had roughly the same amount of time to build for that one.
Yes.
But they were able to kind of get those roles clearly defined.
Mm-hmm. They explained to us how they feel about each other, and it was very clear there was a story going into that match, and they did have the same amount of time. Again, MJF, he's the best thing going today. He is the future of professional wrestling. He's the present of professional wrestling, and his match, albeit not my favorite match on the card, it exceeded my expectations. He had a far better match with Tanahashi than I thought he would, especially after seeing Tanahashi wrestle Swerve last night, which I thought was, not the best. MJF had a far better match with Tanahashi than Swerve did. MJF was great tonight. And again, he's the world champion, and he just proves time and time again he deserves to be the world champion. He deserves to be the top guy in AEW because he doesn't fail. Everything he does is good. Everything he does is better than it should be. He's fantastic.
His expectations.
Just a great he with Tanahashi tonight. MJF wins, hits him with the Dynamite Diamond Ring behind the ref's back, 1, 2, 3. But MJF just he does it right. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Even like Tanahashi's match last year against John Moxley, I remember was a bit disappointing. As like a match that was fairly kind of by numbers. So for MJF, kind of maybe Tanahashi's slowing down a bit. MJF brought out a great match out of him.
I think it was Tanahashi's best match in AEW.
Yeah.
Yeah. MJF is great. MJF is so damn good. CM Punk got the win over Satoshi Kojima after the GTS. I thought the match was solid. Punk was taunting the hostile crowd during the match, after the match. He advanced in the Owen Hart Cup tournament thing. We probably faced Samoa Joe in the semifinals, but we talked about it a little bit. Punk, he really he was fully embracing that heel role in the match tonight. And I thought he had a really good match with Kojima. I was not super impressed with Punk in the 6-man last week and then the 8-man last night. I didn't think Punk looked particularly great in the ring. I think he looked a little bit better last night in the 8-man than he did in the 6-man, but I thought he looked kind of clunky and rusty, in that 6-man. He'd been out with injuries for a while, and he's like 45 years old, so, things are going to be a little bit slower, but I feel like he shook the rust off a little bit last night. And he was in fine form tonight. I thought he was very good. Didn't trip over his feet like he has been a little bit. Like sometimes he gets
his footwork.
Yeah, like sometimes I feel like, as he gets older and things happen and he's been beat up, he's been wrestling for over 20 years now. Wrestlers tend to slow down and the feet get a little bit slower and tougher to move. And Punk, at times, we've seen him trip up and fall over. He's had some shaky moments. But tonight he was not shaky. Like, he was on solid ground the whole time. He looked very sharp tonight. He was, whatever he's been doing, he should stick with that, because I thought he had a really good match with Kojima. Not the best match on the card. It wasn't meant to be. It was a second match. It was an Owen Hart tournament. He's wrestling Kojima. It's not like a big deal.
Yeah.
But again, it was better than I thought it would be. It was pretty damn good.
It was very clear Kojima was there to lose. Like, it just felt like when he came out, it was just like he's had a look like, hey, happy to be here, but like,
yeah. But I think the story of that match to me was just the way the crowd reacted to Punk and has continued to react to Punk. Orange Cassidy got the win over Daniel Garcia, Katsuyori Shibata, and Zack Sabre Jr. to retain his title. Zack Sabre pile drove Garcia, and then Shibata hit Sabre Jr. out of the ring, and then Orange pushed Shibata out of the way to get the pin on Garcia. And then Zack Sabre, Shibata, and Orange Cassidy all had a talk in the ring about their belts. They all have belts. Yeah. Shibata has a Ring of Honor belt. Zack Sabre has a New Japan TV belt, and Orange has his belt, and they're talking about maybe, I don't know, unifying or having a three-way for the belts or something. I don't know. They seem to be discussing something about their championships. Not clear what they're going to do.
I loved in that match when I was asking you, like, hey, did Zack Sabre Jr. get bigger, or is it just because he's in this match with all these guys?
Yeah, it's because he was in the match with the small guys. Yeah.
I was like, Zack Sabre Jr. looking so jacked.
Garcia and Orange Cassidy aren't the biggest of dudes. Zack Sabre Jr. did look like a heavyweight in that match. He did. Sonata over Jungle Boy I thought was really good. Sonata getting the pinfall on Jungle Boy after the moonsault press to retain the IWGP Heavyweight title. I enjoyed Sonata's work tonight. Sonata is a great wrestler. Hook was in Jungle Boy's corner and held his arm up on the stage after the match, and then Jungle Boy clothesline Hook, turning fully heel on Hook, taunting the crowd, holding the FTW. Oh, that was on mic. Horrible. Jeez, I got to sit next to you. Holding the FTW title, then throwing it down on Hook. Good God almighty, you sick bastard.
My special move.
So, yeah.
So Jungle Boy turned heel, huh?
Jungle Boy turned heel. Woo! So, yeah, I think it makes sense. Jungle Boy, I think, is going to be more fun as a heel. Because this babyface Jungle Boy has kind of run its course. Who cares?
But, like, isn't, like, Christian and, like, Luchasaurus thing all about being heels based on, like, what they did to Jungle Boy? So if Jungle Boy's a heel now, too, and Christian and Luchasaurus are heels, are they going to be, like, heels against each other still?
I think they're just moving on from Jungle Boy because Christian is the TNT champion. Luchasaurus won it for him, but Christian is claiming to be the TNT champion. I don't know if you've seen this, which I think is fantastic. Christian is the TNT champion, and Luchasaurus, like, he cut a promo last night in Toronto, ran down Toronto, talked about their crappy sports teams and all that stuff.
I gotta catch that.
He's like, I left Toronto. It was the best decision I ever made. The Maple Leafs, they get a team in the second round, and then they fail, just like Toronto, such a failure. He just started shitting on Toronto, and then even though you see pictures of Christian and Edge in Maple Leafs jerseys during the playoffs.
In Tampa, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, they're big fans. Like, Christian's running down the Leafs, but really he wishes they would win because he loves it. So that kind of took a bit away from the promo, but it still was good. And then he said, the only winners you've had are the Raptors, and the only reason you won with the Raptors because you had Kawhi Leonard. And what happened when he won? He left. He got the hell out of Toronto. He's like, I'm not coming back, winning for you losers. It's just a great promo from Christian running down Toronto, which is always fun to see.
It's true. There's been a lot of legendary promos running down Toronto. The Rock,
yeah.
Somebody else did one. Was Kevin Steen or Kevin Owens?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I think he was talking to, like, Seth Rollins, and he's saying, like, I'm Canadian, I'm very proud to be Canadian, but I'm from a real Canadian city, Montreal, Canada, and, like, Quebec, and, like, Toronto's like, oh, boo.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Fair enough. What else happened on this pay-per-view? We had Satoshi Ishii, Eddie Kingston, and the Elite over the Blackpool Combat Club, Takeshita and Shota Umino. Ishii got the win for that team after a brainbuster on Wheeler, Utah. The match was all right. Not my favorite on the show.
Yeah,
It was
Eddie
just there.
Kingston, you know?
It was just there.
Yeah, Hangman the Bucks, just there, you know?
Hangman and the Bucks really didn't make much of an impact there. It was, it was a whatever match. It was forgettable. Ishii pinning Wheeler. I know Brian won't be happy about that.
And Eddie just looks so out of place.
Oof.
Just
out of shape.
Like I know, like, you know, like it's not a fair example, but like when he was like wrestling with Claudio there, and it was just like, geez.
Yeah, but it's not just compared to Claudio; it's compared to Ishii.
Yeah,
like Eddie Kingston looks out of shape compared to Ishii, compared to Moxley, compared to everybody in that match. He looked like so out of shape that he was out of place. It was like, oh.
Yeah.
Who's that guy? Like, because if you're tuning in and you don't know who this guy is, you go, who's that guy?
Yeah, what's he doing here?
I hate saying it because it's mean, but it does make the whole show seem kind of minor league when you have a guy like that on it, because he looks so not like a wrestler that it makes you take the whole thing less seriously.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with the Eddie Kingston character.
And then, you have the Bucks, who don't look that intimidating. You know what I mean? Like, they're in good shape.
But they wear, like tiger print stuff.
Yeah, so it's kind of their gimmick.
Fun-loving kind of.
But, like, they're in shape for men, but for wrestlers, they don't look super jacked or intimidating. So when you tune in and you see a match like that, you go, oh, what? And then you see Ishii, and he's like pretty small, and it's like it's a weird looking team. Makes Hangman look like $1 million, but the team kind of looked like, a little rough. And Eddie Kingston, he kind of draws attention to himself. He makes everybody else look like they're in really good shape, though.
Yeah,
he made Jon Moxley look like Lex Luger.
Yeah, Moxley's back looks so like ripped.
Oh, Moxley's in great shape these days.
Yeah, but when he stands next to Eddie, it just looks like
it looks sad though. It looks like that poor man shouldn't be in the ring with these giant athletes. Like that's what it looked like to me.
Or a fan got in the ring.
Yeah, it's like, well, that guy doesn't belong, and he's probably gonna get hurt here with those guys. Like you see Claudio, like this fucking freak, and Eddie Kingston's like kind of schlubby. And you go, oh, that poor man's going to get hurt. And then when he has offense, you're like, yeah.
Come on.
Those guys are pretending to take that shit because it doesn't look... Like, compare Eddie Kingston's strikes and his offense to what Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega do. It's like... Or Bryan Danielson.
Or Minoru Suzuki.
Or Suzuki even,
like, oh my God. Like those little come, give me a break.
No, Kojima was doing those tonight too. Those are awful.
Yeah.
I hate that. Like... This does nothing. This doesn't do shit.
It's a little tickle.
It tickles. You know what does something?
All right, do it.
All right, you're going to hear the sound. This is a Suzuki's.
Give it to me.
Come on! Oh, let me gear up. If I get a free one, I'm going to gear up. Here we go. It won't be that bad. I won't kill him. That one, did you hear the sound? I hope it made a sound.
It made a sound for me, brother.
How do you feel?
Fine.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad. But those, those are more impactful than the, give me a knife edge, like hit me harder. I don't like those little baby chops that Eddie Kingston, like those little,
little slice and dice.
It's like, yo, man, we've hit people.
It's like he's doing a massage going. Pop, 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 pop.
Yeah, everybody's been hit before. Everybody's been slapped like this before. We all know that doesn't feel like anything, dude. Yeah. It doesn't hurt. Stop doing it to a wrestler and stop making these grown-ass jacked men go, ow, 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 ow. It's like, no, man, that doesn't hurt. Oh,
I got to sell for you.
Yeah, imagine having to sell that shit. If Eddie Kingston tried to do that shit to me, I'd be like, yo, no. Hit me harder, man. I don't understand.
And if he's like huffing and puffing while he's doing it, because like that's his big spot,
man.
too. So he's he's more like 50s. He's like,
yeah, it tires him out to do it.
So it's got to be like this at the end of it. Like he's going like this.
I just feel bad for him, man. I wish, just
get him off TV.
I wish it wasn't the case, but when I see him, I go, why? Why is he there?
And
what
why
happened?
Does the crowd love him so much?
People do like him. I know why the crowd loves him.
I know why, but still, they should be
because to most of the AEW crowd, Eddie Kingston is in good shape.
But like, still, they should be like, come on.
You seen the shots of the
Where's
audience
the escape?
shots? It is hard to find a pretty audience. Like, they go to the audience
Yeah.
shot a lot, and it is hard to find a pretty shot. They are
During
strong.
Jericho's entrance, when they close up on people singing, jeez.
Whew.
That's what is this, the handsome contest?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Montreal is a far prettier city than
Oh,
Toronto.
my God.
In more ways than one.
Beautiful ladies, beautiful dudes.
Well, present company excluded, but, you know, in general. Yeah. Yikes. Anyways. But not our audience. Our audience is super beautiful. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Our audience is fantastic.
Yeah.
The people that watch the Ringside Report Network get it.
Yeah.
But just, I see the crowd shots. I mean, you guys see it too. The crowd shots for the AEW fans, you go, whoa, what's up with that guy? You know?
Put it back in. She's not done.
I swear, every time, like, once per AEW show, they do a crowd shot, and I go, what's up with that guy? Is he okay? How did his nose get... The eyes aren't supposed to be there. The eyes are in the wrong place.
I've heard of a 5 head, but that's a 7.
Yeah, there was a guy with, like...
In the front row?
All right, let's...
Sorry. we won't show him like screen capture.
Let's...
Look at this guy.
Oh, we should take this show in a whole new direction. Next time we do ugliest fan contest in AEW.
Can we get sued for defamation?
I think people will be very upset. People will be super mad. We just take screenshots of some people in the crowd during the show, and then we let the audience decide who wins ugliest fan, and then
Twitter poll,
and then we somehow find the winner in the audience and send him like a gift certificate to like a makeover spa or something.
Yeah.
You know, be
invite him on the show.
You won the ugliest fan, and we're going to make you look pretty with a day at the spa. We're going to get you a full makeover, some new clothes, a new haircut, and a trip to the dentist.
We could have sold this as a show on like Fox in like the late 90s. Like they probably had a show like that.
Oh.
There was the Swan. Remember the Swan?
No.
It was like I think it was like 20 ladies, and like they all got
ugly dudes,
plastic surgery or something, and like they had they would go on a dating thing, and like the inner beauty or something. It was something very like, it was like, if
weird.
you read the synopsis, you're like, oh, it was called the Swan.
Sounds good.
It was a Fox like on those game shows.
Nothing as good as Eliminate. Anyways, yeah. I was just saying. I don't know why. How do we get on the audience?
Oh, just
Eddie Kingston.
Eddie Kingston, yes. Thanks, Eddie Kingston. You know, like a Bray Wyatt, you know? Like
I guess relatable?
Something. Aspirational, perhaps?
I mean, sometimes when he talks, it's like not so bad.
But even then, you know, remember when I called him Michael Rappaport?
Yeah. He's a lot like Michael Rappaport.
And like, you know, Michael Rappaport, you know, it's like, yeah, whatever, you know?
But yeah, because when Michael Rappaport talks, you know that there's nothing behind it.
Yeah.
Like, when Eddie Kingston says these things, I go, but I don't believe you.
Yeah. Like, if Eddie Kingston just started yelling about the Phillies, I'd feel more conviction. Like, man, the Phillies suck. I hate them.
Although, I have seen him wear Yankee stuff. I think he's a Yankee fan. He's from New York.
Yeah. But I mean, but that's what he feels more appropriate being like, about yelling about a sports team than, like, wrestling.
He does seem like a guy that you would see yelling at people at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. Hey, Rod, you bum.
Harrison Beta.
Yeah.
Harrison Beta.
No, I was listening to Mike Francesca today.
Yeah.
He was saying.
Yeah. Yankees won today, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. Take that, Tejas.
Took 2 out of 3 from the Rangers. That's what I'm talking about. So I do appreciate that Eddie Kingston is a Yankee fan. There's a lot of things I like about Eddie Kingston. I just wish he were just a little bit more presentable for TV, because if he were, I think AEW could actually do something with him.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's just when you throw strikes and you don't look that strong, it's hard to believe, you know, and the guys are selling for you, and it doesn't really work for me. So,
and like, it's guys like that always make me appreciate Mick Foley, because like Mick Foley never had that body, you know, or like he was, you know, always regarded, you know, but like
a lot of guys, you know, you could be not the prototype, like you don't have to look like Randy Orton to be a professional wrestler. Look at Kevin Owens, you know, Kevin Owens is a great example. Kevin Owens also very intelligently never, ever, ever takes off his shirt.
Yeah.
By the way. Okay? Kevin Owens is not the most, like, jacked wrestler, but he always wears a T-shirt. He wears a rash guard under that T-shirt, so you never see his belly. You've never seen it on TV.
It's never slipped out.
It's never come out. Eddie Kingston wears that singlet thing, and then he pulls it down, and then he's got this gut hanging out. It's just the way he presents himself. If he could keep a T-shirt on, it'd be far better.
Yeah, like Sting.
Sting wears a shirt.
Naito wore a shirt.
Naito wore a shirt. I don't think he really needs to, but he does. Yeah. Naito was great. Tranquilo. Love to see Tetsuya Naito. So, match of the night, obviously, Will and Kenny. I don't know if there was anything better. I don't know if anybody thought other things were better, but I'm giving the show 8 on 10 overall based on the strength of Bryan and Okada and Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega. And also, the 6-man with Stinger I thought was fun.
MJF was fine.
MJF was good. The Sonata Jungle Boy match was better than I thought it would be. CM Punk and Kojima better than I thought it would be. MJF Tanahashi better than I thought it would be. Good matches, But I think the pay-per-view lost points with some other matches that were kind of forgettable, like the 4-way, the Orange Cassidy 4-way, the 10-man tag with the Bullet Club, Blackpool Combat Club, and the Elite. I want to say Bullet Club because,
it's close enough.
And the Tony Storm Willow Nightingale.
That was a quick match, though.
Yeah, but those were 2 matches back-to-back. The 10-man tag and then the women's match that were just kind of duds and lost some points for me. And then,
I don't know. I mean, I guess I couldn't find a Japanese women. It would be Stardom. It's a different company.
It was supposed to be Sasha Banks, but she's hurt.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be Mercedes. Yeah, that would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sucks.
Sasha Banks against Tony Storm would have been amazing.
Even though we've seen that match before.
Yes, but here on this platform and Sasha wrestling in AEW for the first time, it would have been...
The pop would have been crazy.
It would have been massive, and hopefully we do get to see Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné wrestle in AEW at some point. But
do you think she'll sign a contract with him or just appearance?
I think she likes her freedom.
Yeah, because she does acting and stuff too.
Mm-hmm. I think she keeps her options open for a potential return to WWE because she gets hot enough, she stays out long enough,
and Becky Lynch sticks around, gets a little more stale.
A lot of people come, people go. She's still quite young. I believe Sasha's still in her 20s.
Yeah, it's true.
She's
27,
you
28.
give it 2-3 years outside of WWE, but still staying relevant in wrestling, you come back for a major payday.
Yeah. Vince is gone,
She's worth a lot of money now to the company if she were to come back, but in a couple years, when the division kind of evolves and changes. If you could bring back somebody like Sasha Banks who would still be in their prime
to work against, if Tiffany Stratton comes to the main roster, or
who knows,
Roxy Perez,
or Rhea Ripley, or whoever is the top star at that point. But I think Sasha, at some point, will go back to the WWE and will get really paid. CSL Lauren says Vince is gone. Vince is not gone.
No, Vince is back.
Vince apparently was making last-minute changes to SmackDown on Friday night, and Vince was the reason why they didn't do Shotzi versus Bayley, which was supposed to happen, and they replaced it with Charlotte versus Lacey Evans in a meaning match. Yes. Yes.
Charlotte and Lacey Evans.
Yes.
Classic Vince.
Yes.
We don't need Bayley.
Which is really funny. I guess you didn't catch all of my show that I did on Friday night.
I watched mostly the Forbidden Door breakdown.
Right, so we talked about SmackDown, and then we talked about Bayley and Shotzi. We're talking about Money in the Bank because Shotzi had challenged Bayley to a match, I think it was 2 weeks ago on SmackDown, where if Bayley lost, Shotzi would replace her in the Money in the Bank.
Okay.
And then we were trying to figure out when that match was supposed to be, and then we realized, that match was actually supposed to be tonight on SmackDown. They didn't do it at all. And they had kind of, Like, they did a promo on TV, and they put a stipulation that involved Money in the Bank. So you're like, oh, this is kind of an important deal. And then I was looking at Money in the Bank, and Bailey was still listed in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And I was like, well, it's Bailey or Shotzi, I guess, because Shotzi... But that match seems to have been totally scrapped. And apparently it was a Vince call to scrap the match entirely, which seems crazy, but also pretty on brand for Vince.
Yeah, typical.
Right? Because Vince...
I mean, he likes Lacey Evans. He tries to push her.
Well, but also, it's just, it's on brand for Vince to take something that has been planned and exposed on TV and then just scrap it like it never even happened. Because Triple H, and I think most wrestling bookers would go, well, we said it would happen, so we have to do it. And Vince will go, no, fuck that, pal. It doesn't matter.
Wait, what do you mean Shotzi's going to be Money in the Bank? I don't think that should happen, pal.
It's not a uniquely WWE thing to do, but it's a very Vince thing to do.
Yeah.
Vince does that often. And
cheapens the show.
Yeah, but apparently that was a Vince call. So even as recently as Friday night, Vince was making last-minute changes to SmackDown that affected the whole show and a future pay-per-view.
This last year, it's been about a year since the allegations and everything first started coming about Vince and his payoffs and everything.
Yeah.
So for him to be he's there, but why is he there? He's gone, and Vince be I'm retiring, everybody. It's been great. And then the purchase,
the purchase,
and him coming back to oversee the purchase, and now they're actually, and Vince is back as creative head, or
Well, I don't know if he's necessarily back as creative head.
No, but
but he is still the whatever president or CEO, whatever they're calling it, of that company. He's still the boss of all of WWE, and he's got input.
Yeah.
I think Triple H is there day to day, running creative. He's the man to see for everything. But Vince obviously has approval and veto power over a lot of things, and he uses it when he feels like it.
So there was probably 3 weeks where Triple H had final cut.
Yeah. Well, it's when Kendall thinks he's going to run Waystar. It's not for long, Kenny.
I'm going to stay on.
Yeah.
Another 5 years?
Oh, you're what?
5? 10.
What?
Okay. I think maybe I should get Jess.
I think maybe we need to have a rethink.
I'm working on my Kendall Roy.
But that's what it feels like. It's Triple H got a little bit of time, and he's still kind of in charge, but not really, But he managed to stay on. He's Wamsgans.
Yeah.
He's Wamsgansed himself because now Steph is just on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
She's been completely removed from the company. Triple H is a pain sponge, and Steph is just sitting there.
Yeah, do people, do you think people, they'll say hi to Triple H and be oh, I love what you're doing, but, nobody respects them?
Well, I think they know that ultimately they can go to Vince.
Yeah.
I think the big stars and
Michael Hayes,
a Brock Lesnar, a Roman Reigns, a Michael Hayes, a Bruce Pritchard, they answer to Triple H, but if they don't like the answers they're getting, they could run things by Vince. Triple H, you could go over his head.
Yeah.
Because Vince is there, and if you have Vince's ear, Vince will make time for certain people. Vince will make time for Roman Reigns.
He'll make time for Brock.
Yeah. If Vince or if Roman or Brock don't like the way things are going for them in WWE, they could go to Vince.
But if Vince here's hey, Tommaso Ciampa wants to talk to you.
Yeah, those days are over.
Because Ciampa probably could go to Triple H, hey, what's going on? I'll give you a match.
Yeah, most of the roster, for all the things that they would wait outside Vince's office for and ask and pitch to Vince, hey, let me pitch you this, let me pitch you that. You'd hear all about that. That's going to Triple H. But for the big things, for the major issues, for the major stars, they can go to Vince because Vince is still there and he's still involved. So, girls is the question. Yeah, I would assume Vince is still involved with many ladies and is paying them off. I guess that's the question. I'm not.
He was
really
spotted
sure.
at a restaurant with like on a date with a lady once or something.
Yeah, a lady in her 40s. I wouldn't call her
With
a girl.
No. But like I don't know. Yeah,
Oh shit! Fractured forearm will miss All In. Johnny North with the late breaking news.
Oh,
Bryan Danielson has a fractured forearm and will miss All In. See, I told you something was up with his arm because we were like, is he selling? And I was like, I don't know, man. Because after the match, he didn't really move his arm, and he was working that match basically with one arm. That one arm just kind of not moving, and I thought, yeah, something like it could be he's selling because he's really good at selling, but it seemed like there was something wrong with his arm. And then after the match, he went for the yes at one point, and he just raised one hand. And I've seen him do that, like.
He was wincing too, like.
Yeah, but he's really good at the sell, so it was hard to tell. But I said right during the match, I was like, man, is his arm okay? He looks a little something's up.
Shoulder busted.
Yeah, I was like, man, I hope Bryan is okay. And there's Johnny North telling him that he does have a fractured forearm. He'll miss All In, and that explains not only why Bryan. Why his arm was like that, but maybe why the finish was so abrupt. It's possible they went home early because he was really hurt and they had to go to the finish.
It was supposed to be a lapel lock, but he couldn't really lock it in.
Maybe there was supposed to be more there in the match because, like I said, the match was good. It met my expectations, but it felt like it was missing a little bit more. Like there was, and if your arm is broken, you're not going to be able to deliver the same type of match that you would had your arm been fine, right? So, that makes sense. That makes sense. But you know what? Honestly, yeah, match was okay at best. I didn't think it was the best match on the card. It was, it was all right. It was all right. I liked it. I thought it was the second best match on the card. Johnny North giving us his review. I don't know if John saw the whole show. I wish he was on our show to talk about it, but he's just checking in now. He's probably just getting in. Maybe saw the main event, and that's it. We'll talk to Johnny North on Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, when we talk more pro wrestling here on Wrestling Uncensored on the Ringside Report Network. We'll get Johnny's thoughts there. So Bryan had a busted arm. That makes sense. And I'd rather him, honestly, like if you're watching a Bryan Danielson match, it's hard-hitting, pay-per-view's over, you hear he's injured. Much rather it be his arm than his head or his neck.
Oh, God.
Because of the history and everything, like...
Yeah, arm is fine.
Yeah. Arm is fine. I mean, a broken arm. A fractured... What did he say? Fractured something?
Forearm?
Forearm? I mean, that's a broken arm. So he'll miss All In. Apparently, fractured forearm, 6 to 8 weeks to recover.
All right.
He might be back for blood and guts.
Oh, yeah, the match was canceled, too. The Adam Cole.
Yeah, the Adam Cole match was canceled.
Tom Lawler, yeah.
Because Adam Cole got sick?
Yeah, of some kind. Hopefully he's all right, Hopefully just maybe let's assume like stomach flu.
Yeah. Hopefully he's okay. Oh, yeah, and Bryan Danielson came out to the final countdown tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently Bryan Danielson says he didn't know that Tony got it for him tonight because apparently it costs a lot of money. Bryan says $1 zillion per play. So it costs a lot of money. I don't know. I guess that means...
the licensing?
Yeah, I guess that means they might not use it full time, which is disappointing because
that's interesting how some songs... Because, Final Countdown is by a band called Europe.
Yeah.
Who are a pretty nothing band, 80s hair metal band from the 80s. They weren't super huge hit makers.
Yeah.
But you got Punk coming out to Cult of Personality. I mean, those guys weren't huge hit, but that was an enduring song. Or Orange Cassidy coming to Jefferson Starship, who had a few hits in their time. Saturday they have Elton John license for the Collision theme song. That can't be cheap. So I'm interested. Why is Final Countdown the one that's more expensive and those they're playing in perpetuity. I mean,
you think about all those songs you mentioned. Final Countdown
or Jungle Boy. guitar sample.
Yeah, sure. But Final Countdown as a song is more iconic than any of those songs. Like, it's a big.
Saturday Night's All Right for finding resonance with a lot of people.
I don't really know that song. The Final Countdown, that's like a big song. I don't know. They play it at sports events, like.
But like like we think of Arrested Development, so it has a kind of like
Joe Bluth,
a little kitschy kind of like it's a cheesy song.
It's a cheesy song.
It's a cheesy as hell song. It's like a song for D&D nerds.
I could see
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
It's like epic dragons, thunder and lightning. Yeah, but like not like heavy metal like Iron Maiden is like.
No. I mean, I don't know. It's like a big song. I don't know. I don't know how all that music licensing works, why some songs are more expensive than others. But all I know is it was cool as hell when Brian came out to that. That was his Ring of Honor theme song, his theme song on the Indies. And I was hoping that when he came to AEW, it would be his song going forward. But he did that weird remix of the Flight of the Valkyries remix. And I don't like it so much with the rapping and the whatever. It's not the best song. I like the WWE one he had better than his AEW one, but the Final Countdown, that beats them all. So hopefully they can use that in the future, and when the crowd yells, "It's the final countdown," like with the song and Brian like smiling and laughing, like you can see him really enjoying it. It's a cool moment for the crowd. It's a cool, crowd participation thing. And it's a nice addition to the Bryan Danielson presentation, to have that song.
It definitely gives it more of like an epic, fight feel.
It fits him.
Mm-hmm. Way more than the other one. The other one is just like subdued.
Yeah, it doesn't fit as well for Bryan.
Yeah.
So
and it's like, oh, here's Bryan. Like this is like, oh, here he comes.
Yeah. It feels momentous. Feels like an occasion.
Feels like the Rocky theme or something like that level kind of.
It's cool. I mean, there's a reason why Joe Bluth used it so much.
Yeah,
it works.
It makes you feel important.
Yep. And Bryan Danielson,
a knife in your mouth.
Bryan Danielson is damn important. He's a great wrestler. I guess Johnny didn't like it too much, but I thought his match with Okada was very good tonight. But again, hard to top Ospreay and Kenny. Solid outing for Forbidden Door. I'm giving it an 8 on 10. He's giving it a 7.5. Seeing scores ranging from 2.5 to 8.5 in the chat. So a variety of scores here tonight on the Ringside Report Network. I will be back Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time to give you more UFC winners. My parlay won last night. I didn't bet my parlay, unfortunately, which kind of pissed me off because I had a 4-fight parlay, 20 got you about $200, and it won, but I didn't bet it, so I felt kind of dumb. But hopefully somebody did. Somebody listened to Dave and Dave's picks, and I know I'll pick more winners, so I'll bet them next time. It'll be all right. I don't know why. I just never got around to it. But the Team Dave parlay came through last night or yesterday afternoon for the UFC. That's why I didn't bet, because it was in the afternoon, and it caught me off guard, and it was my son's birthday, and I didn't really have time in the morning to go and place my bets. I was busy doing all sorts of stuff, so I didn't get to do it, and the fight card started before I had the chance. But that Team Dave parlay did come through, so hopefully somebody cashed in from our picks here on the Ringside Report Network. We're not just pro wrestling experts, we're mixed martial arts experts as well, and we're giving you winners each and every week. We're doing the martial arts. Some people play golf. We like to choke folks. We like to beat people up. We like to do the wrestling, do the jujitsus, do the real martial arts.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. See a lot of people working out, and they're like taking pictures of themselves at the workout, and a lot of people are doing that shit for vanity's sake.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people.
There's a lot. Like I don't like to be a kind of person who thinks everyone is trying to be, oh, look at me, look at me.
I just see it a lot.
But there's some exercise techniques that I'm just like, that looks unnecessary. Like, I pass by the Peel Basin a lot on my bike.
Yeah.
And there's like a little workout spot, like under, like an underpass where there's like tires and like bars and like and people go who are like crazy jacked.
Yeah, well,
but
that's
like,
how you get jacked.
But like, I'll see a guy like go sideways and do like pull-ups and things like while they're like sideways. And I'm just like, what's the point of that?
No, but that's impressive. That's like actually athletic. That's actually impressive. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that I see on the internet that take like one boxing class,
Okay.
and they've got like 6 different posts on Instagram about, hey, embrace the grind and
Hard
da, da, da.
knocks.
And I'm like, well, you're hitting pads, once every 3 weeks. You're not a boxer. There's just like a lot of stuff like that where I go, what? But I should post more pictures of me and Fred in the gym, because me and
super
Fred,
sweaty,
like
beat
me and
up.
Fred are like really doing it and really grappling and stuff.
Videos
But
would be cool.
But I don't ever post that stuff because I feel like it's like cringy to post how hard you work out and stuff like that. It seems a little lame, but it's probably good for the brand, I suppose.
I
But
guess.
I just see it a lot. People like very proud of their shitty martial arts, and I go, that's shitty martial arts. What the hell is that? That's it.
They're overcompensating,
It's like Johnny North. He's like super jacked. No, I'm saying Johnny North is super jacked, and I always tell him, like, man, you're posting, like, you don't post enough pictures on Instagram where you're just, like, flexing with your shirt off, because it's very impressive, because you're gigantic, you lift weights every day, and you see all these jabroni dudes, a lot of pro wrestlers even, big-name pro wrestlers, that'll post, like, selfies in the mirror and shit with their shirt off looking all jacked. And people like it, and it improves their brand and whatever. And I go, John, you could do that. Look at you. You're a goddamn monster. But he's a humble man like I am, and he's not going to just... See, John is like me. He doesn't do the work for the accolades. He does it to do the work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He does it because of how it advances him. He doesn't do
He's
it.
not in for the glory.
It's not for a social status, it's for the improvement. Like, I don't do jiu-jitsu to be cool. I do jiu-jitsu to get better at jiu-jitsu. And I'm failing at that fucking miserably every time I do jiu-jitsu. Getting my ass kicked. No, I'm getting better. Every day I get better.
It's part of the beauty.
You always improve, but, some days you're the hammer and some days you're the nail. And a lot of times I'm the nail, because 10th Planet is no joke, baby.
Sometimes you eat the bar.
But sometimes I'm the hammer, baby. Sometimes you eat the bar, and sometimes the bar eats you.
I think we can take some comfort in that.
But the remorselessness of the scythe brings some comfort to you all. Okay. Let the scythe's remorseless swing bring some comfort to you all. Okay. What the hell are we talking about? All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. We love you. We'll be back Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Maybe I'll take pictures of me and Fred in the gym, like posing all sweaty. Like,
Shirts off.
Oh, Fred with his shirt off, baby. The
Sight
world.
to see.
I'm just going to take pictures of Fred, I think. I don't want to take pictures of me. I'm just going to say, hey, Fred, in the gym next time, I'm like to be Fred, it's for the brand, it's for Ringside Report. Take your shirt off. Let me take some pictures of you. I never post them. They're just my personal collection. What?
And your pants.
I just sent him to AJ. What?
It's like, and your pants too. Yeah, no, it's for the brand. It's for the brand, Fred.
Oh, it's for the brand.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay.
Fred, show. Put a little butt cheek. Take butt cheek pictures.
Yeah.
Send them to AJ. AJ posts them on Instagram.
Hey, for our OF account, only Fred.
Only Fred? We need to do an OnlyFans for Fred. Just only Fred. It's just pictures of Fred. He's not nude. He's just like different, various photos of Fred.
You're not in there. AJ's not in there. Nobody's in there. It's only Fred.
It's only Fred. We should just do. It's an edited version of Ringside Report MMA where we take me and AJ out, and it's just Fred bits. Yeah. It's only Fred.
It's $29.99 a month.
Yeah, it's very expensive because it takes a lot to do the editing.
Yeah.
It's not really
only Fred.
You're not paying for the content. You're just paying for the work that we have to do to edit ourselves out of the show and make it a Fred only show. Yeah. What are we talking about? It's late. It's like 1:30 in the morning. I think you can tell. Okay, guys, that's it. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Harold Schneider. You're the super chat leader of the night. Thank you to Ray Cruz, Jason Pete, members of the team over at join.ringsidereport.net. Ray, Harold, Jason. Join.ringsidereport.net is where they went. Support the channel. Go to donate.ringsidereport.net as well. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Subscribe on all the platforms. It helps us out, and it keeps us going, and the algorithms and everything. Right? Right. Yeah. This has been the AEW New Japan Forbidden Door Post Show on the Ringside Report Network.
Please join in and give your support to Ringside Report Network. We've been providing expert coverage and commentary on both pro wrestling and MMA for over 15 years. Go to ringsidereport.net/support to find out more ways to support the channel.